It was first discovered in the late 1940s in the Zika forest in Uganda. A research monkey got sick, and they identified it. But the virus for most decades stayed in the equatorial regions of Africa and Southeast Asia. And it's only been relatively recently that it's been spreading to the Americas. The biggest misconception is I think the media is blowing it out of proportion, that it's not a deadly disease. It is a problematic disease in that it's spreading, and it is most people who get the disease don't have any symptoms. Only about 1 in 5, according to the CDC, come down with rash, fever, joint pains, and red eyes. So it's not a particularly deadly disease. The biggest problem with it is the possibility that it might be causing a devastating birth defect, microcephaly in newborns. It's caused an epidemic in Brazil, and I think the main reason for the international attention is the devastating birth defects that it's been associated with. Now, it hasn't been proven to cause these birth defects, but it's an association. So the public health, the global health community is very concerned by that. Well, they're very different. I mean, the Zika virus is mosquito-borne. The Ebola virus is spread through contact with blood and bodily fluids. The Ebola virus is, of course, much more deadly. But they're similar in that they're both zoonotic diseases. A zoonotic disease is a disease of animals that infects humans. And since the mid-20th century, we're seeing more and more of these pathogens emerging from animals, primarily wildlife, but also occasionally from livestock, and infecting human populations. So it's a huge problem. Yes, well, so it is not in the same family of virus, but chikungunya is also a mosquito-borne disease that can cause pretty horrible suffering with severe joint pains. Again, it's not necessarily deadly, but it can cause quite a bit of morbidity. Dengue is spread by the same, well, they're all spread by the same mosquito, the Aedes species of mosquito. But dengue is another problem. It's actually in the same family as dengue. We have a lot of global trade and travel. People are traveling all the time, and any of these diseases are only a plane flight away. So if you're in a Zika or chikungunya or dengue infested area, you get bit, and then you have the disease. If you go to a place that's naive to the virus, but you have the proper mosquito vector, the Aedes mosquitoes, then if that mosquito bites you and bites somebody else, then you can have a chain reaction where these things take off. And that is, in fact, what we're seeing. There's now a dengue outbreak occurring in Hawaii, which had never occurred before. There have been sputtering cases of dengue in the south of the United States, Texas and Florida. So it's a serious concern. And of course, we don't know. I mean, hypothetically, the warmer climate would facilitate the spread of these mosquitoes and their range, but so far that's more of a theoretical threat. There hasn't been proven data demonstrating that. Well, a lot of these diseases start out with your standard aches and pains, and it's easy to I mean, if the disease has not been in your geographic region ever, then it's going to be harder to be the first to diagnose it. Once that has been recognized, then it's going to be much easier because they come in with often similar symptoms and signs. I mean, the CDC is doing a good job in providing information for professional healthcare workers. One of the problems is there still isn't a good serologic test for Zika virus, and you have to send your specimen to a reference lab. Either the CDC or maybe some of the states have that capability now, so it's not so easy to confirm it through laboratory diagnosis. So then you rely on, if there is an ongoing spread in your region, then you would use the classic signs and symptoms.